there is a number stamped into the official record of the Hoover Dam: 96 men dead. It is carved into memorials, printed in the visitor guides, repeated in every documentary for 90 years. And almost nobody who studies the dam believes it. Because the company that built the dam also got to decide what counted as a construction death, and it had $48 million riding on keeping that number small. The real toll is buried in death certificates that say pneumonia in a desert town where pneumonia barely existed. This is the story of America's greatest megaproject and the men it quietly wrote out of the ledger. Start with what they were actually attempting, because the scale is the reason men died. In 1931, in the middle of the worst economic collapse in American history, the government hired a consortium called 6 companies to throw a concrete wall across the Colorado River. Not a bridge, not a levee. A wall 726 feet tall, taller than any dam ever built, wedged into a canyon of black volcanic rock on the Nevada and Arizona border, where summer air temperatures pass 120 degrees. The contract was the largest the federal government had ever signed. $48.9 million, more than $1 billion in today's money. The plan called for 6.6 million tons of concrete, enough to pave a highway from San Francisco to New York. And the schedule was brutal. 6 companies faced steep penalties for every day past the deadline, so the site ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 5 years. The men who built it came from everywhere, because in 1931 there was nowhere else to go. Tens of thousands of desperate families drifted toward the Nevada desert, chasing rumors of work. Long before the government town of Boulder City was finished, they lived in a riverside camp the workers themselves named Ragtown, sleeping in tents and cardboard shelters on the canyon floor, in heat that did not drop below 90 at midnight. That first summer, the heat began killing people in the camp and on the job. In one single month, from late June to late July of 1931, at least 14 men died of heat prostration. Their bodies simply cooked. Down in the diversion tunnels, the thermometer read higher than anywhere else on the site, and the company measured progress in feet of rock per shift, not in the pulse rates of the men drilling it. Those tunnels are where the counting trick begins. Before you can build a dam, you have to move the river. So crews blasted 4 diversion tunnels through the canyon walls, each one 56 feet across, big enough to drive a train through. To haul rock out, 6 companies ran gasoline-powered trucks inside those tunnels, engines idling and revving in a closed tube of rock with almost no ventilation. Gasoline exhaust in an enclosed space produces carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide poisoning was well understood in 1931. It was also compensable. Nevada law meant a man poisoned by gas on the job could sue, and his widow could collect. But pneumonia, a natural illness, cost the company nothing. So men who collapsed in the tunnels were carried out, examined by doctors on the company payroll, and diagnosed with pneumonia. The records that survive show dozens of Hoover Dam workers listed as pneumonia deaths during construction. In the same years, the surrounding civilian community recorded almost none. Pneumonia, it seemed, was a disease that only struck men who worked underground for 6 companies. Not one of those deaths appears in the official construction toll. A handful of workers did drag the company into court over the tunnel gas, and the cases were fought hard and settled quietly, which is usually what it looks like when a company knows exactly what its trucks were doing to men's blood. The official number had other filters built into it. A worker crushed on site who died on the operating table in Las Vegas could be excluded because he did not die at the dam. A man broken by the work who went home and died of his injuries weeks later was never a statistic at all. The ledger counted a death only when it was impossible not to. And the memorial everyone quotes today, 96 men, sometimes cited as 112 depending on which official list you use, is the number that survived all of that filtering. Historians who have gone back through hospital records and death certificates argue the true figure runs far higher once the pneumonia deaths, the heat deaths in the camps, and the delayed deaths are counted. The honest answer is that nobody knows, and that is the point. They stopped counting so we would never have to know. If this is the part of the story you were never told on the Dam Tour, hit subscribe. We take apart a new colossus every week, and there is always a part they leave out. None of this means the dam itself was a lie. The engineering was real, and it was staggering. The concrete had to be poured in thousands of interlocking blocks because a single continuous pour of that size would have generated so much heat curing that engineers calculated it would take more than a century to cool, and it would have cracked apart as it did. So they ran nearly 600 miles of steel pipe through the fresh concrete and pumped refrigerated water through the dam's own body to chill it from the inside. High scalers dangled from ropes hundreds of feet up the canyon walls, swinging on rope seats with jackhammers to strip loose rock, and they became celebrities of the site precisely because everyone could see how easily they could die. Frank Crow, the superintendent driving the whole machine, finished the dam more than 2 years ahead of schedule. 6 companies collected its money and a fortune in bonus. The dam tamed the Colorado, lit up the Southwest, and still stands today, holding back the largest reservoir in the United States. Every bit of the wonder is true. The wonder was never the problem. There is one more detail, and it is the kind history writes when it wants you to remember something. The first man officially killed on the project was a government surveyor named J.G. Tierney, who drowned in the Colorado on December 20th, 1922, scouting the site before construction even began. The last man officially killed was an electrician's helper who fell from an intake tower on December 20th, 1935, 13 years apart to the exact day. His name was Patrick Tierney. He was J.G. Tierney's son. The official list of the dead begins with a father and ends with his boy. And the list between them was edited by the people paying for the funerals. So when you stand on that crest today, 700 feet above the river, you are standing on the greatest construction achievement of its age, and on a ledger that was cooked while the concrete was still warm. The dam kept every promise the engineers made. The count of what it cost never did. And that is the part nobody carves into the memorial. Next time, another machine too big to fail and the fine print that says otherwise,